Is the stock market a good place to invest your money, Brian? How's the PodcastOne stock going? The LiveOne stock going? How are the big high muckety muck players on Wall Street reacting to the stock since we've been telling them about it for the past few weeks now?
Not so well. And again, we are right now in the latest installment of the saga of Colin Thomson, Kast Media, LiveOne, PodcastOne, something we were dragged into because Colin Thomson took our money, and we still don't have any accounting, and we're still owed a lot of money, as so many others have. More shows have come out in the past week, Jim, but as far as the stock goes, we are recording on the weekend. The market is closed, so obviously this does not reflect where it will be in the future, but it closed at $2.05, the PodcastOne stock, although some wild after-hours movement on the stock. It got up to $2 and what is this? $2.34.
Ooh!
So someone after hours tried to buy a bunch and jack this thing up, and then it shot down to $1.91.
No!
And now it's at $2.16 again after hours, but it closed at $2.05. We'll see what happens. And the parent company.
So wait a minute. So every time that the market closes in late hours, somebody tries to pump a little money into it to see if is it like CPR for a stock, Brian? Well, let's pump a little into him and see if he can breathe on its own, and then he starts flatlining again the next day.
Well, we're not exactly sure, and I will look into this, but remember,
allegedly.
Well, PodcastOne did put out a press release on their own saying they're about to have a big stock buyback. They've increased the amount of money they're going to spend buying their own stock back. Also, they're giving a ton of stock to all these poor saps that are doing business with them. So we don't know, but the parent company itself, LiveOne, actually they closed $1.05 as of yesterday. But that's progress. That's up from $1.02. So they had a big 3-cent bump for Friday.
Now, wait a minute. Hold on. We've talked about how the PodcastOne stock is brand new. They just went public last week or week before or whatever. And they were trying to start it at $8, and it fell quickly to under $4, and now it's at $2 and whatever you just quoted. Well, LiveOne has had a stock out there for a while. Has it ever been worth anything? Is it plummeting now, or has it been caca from for some time or from the start?
Going based on what is here, and this may not be completely accurate.
You'd spend more than $1.02 to print the stock certificate out, wouldn't you?
Well, the stock, I believe it debuted September 5th, 2014, or at least that's the earliest I have here. At that point, it was $10.50.
Oh.
In 2016, it had a big jump up to $60 a share.
$60.
$60 a share, but then in December 2017, it shot up to, what is this? It's not going to be hover. $90 a share.
$90, 2017.
Well, December 2017, and then, 2 days later, it shot down to $4.
What? Wait, what? Ho, what? It went from $90 to $4 in 2 days?
No, actually, it may be a little bit longer than that because it doesn't let me zoom in further, but in a short period of time, it went from 60 to 90 to 4. Not $7.25, so it dropped to $7.25, and then 4. And then that's 2018.
What the fuck happened? Was Rob Ellen the CEO then? Who was running that thing? Did they get caught with a dead girl or a live boy on Broadway?
We don't know any of the financials or any of their history, and I believe it was Rob Ellen running the company then. And then since that time, going through its scanning, it's gotten as high as it looks like into the $6 once or twice, $3, $4, $2, $4. And then it's been, since the end of 2021, it seems to have been under $2 the entire time, and at times under $1.
Okay, so there's some homework for somebody out there in the cult of Cornette. Find out for us if you can, or if you were a part of this, what the fuck happened in that period of time where it went from 60 to 90 to 4? And what did people find out about this company that made them want to shed their stock and disavow any knowledge of their actions.
And again, I want to go back to one other thing, because one thing I have heard from a few people, and it's been annoying in a way, because it's like, man, you're ignorant. When they say, well, if you had just taken the deal, you would have gotten something. You would have gotten something. The stock was worthless.
We'd have gotten hernias from trying to pick up boxes and boxes of worthless stock certificates.
When you invest money in something, you're looking to make money. You're not looking to lose money or lose value, because you're not investing in this. You're being given this to replace a debt that someone else racked up by running off with your money. It's a whole nother story. But to be given this stock, where's the value? Look at their financial statements. Look at PodcastOne, look at LiveOne. Where's the value? If I invest money in Apple, I see value depending on what price I get in at. I don't think it's going away. I think they have lots of cash on hand. They make lots of money. If a product doesn't do well, it still does exceptionally good. And they constantly are churning out new things, and people have hope for the future. When you're investing in PodcastOne, for instance, how is that sustainable? It has to be a sustainable business for you to truly make your money back. If you're an investor, not if you're a trader, not if you're looking to dive in for one day, buy a whole bunch, and then as soon as you make a few cents on each share, dump everything. I don't do that. Long-term investor, where's the value in any of this? There isn't any. So we turn down valueless stock to us. Turns out, as of this point, we were more right than we even knew.
It's valueless to everybody else, too.
And this story just continues. It's a disaster. It's a runaway train. Colin Thomson, and I promise you I know a whole lot more about how investing works than Colin Thomson, tried to sell us in those emails on what a wonderful opportunity this stock was. I hope he really believed that. I really hope he did. Because then he must be losing his mind on top of everything else, knowing that the paper he got from Rob is worthless.
Well, and Theo Von figured that out, and all the other people that have come out and talked about it on their podcast, which there's been several this past week. And, it disappoints. Old Sarah Silverman, she's a funny young lass. I bet she could really verbally eviscerate Colin Thomson, but she hasn't come out and said anything. She just moved to another podcast platform and started her podcast back again, apparently free of the Kast debacle, but she hadn't come out and blistered him yet. I'd love to hear what she has to say in private.
There's a lot of people that still haven't come out and said anything. A lot of shows that are still not understanding or not knowing how things are going to work out for them. Not everyone may have control of their RSS feeds. Penn Jillette went to Patreon. We don't know what's going on with a lot of shows, but a lot of the other shows, we're doing what we can to help each other. And 2 more people came out this week. I believe they were both under Big IP Media, Scott Porch, and talked about Kast Media owing them money. These are very popular YouTubers. One of them said he's owed $100,000. Another one said he's owed $16,000. And this is all still adding up. More people are coming out. More lawsuits are coming out. I referenced something the other day, Jim, that people really reacted to. I said that there was something we found out that Colin did that we wouldn't do to our worst enemy.
And actually, that's when I said, I would even, I'm trying to remember my exact quote. I said, I'd even lay off a fucking Russo if this happened to him. And a lot of people blew up at, what in the world could that be? Well, we now have permission to tell what in the world that could fucking be.
I have an email here from Dustin Knaus. Dustin was, I believe he said, Colin's business partner. He was, I forget the exact title, VP of production or something at Kast. He gave us permission to talk about this. So let me read a little bit of this. Colin refused to pay overtime, make proper schedules for people to be able to have lunch and do other things, and he did other illegal things as an employer, I tried to spare my team by putting in too much time. I was working 70 to 80 hours a week for less than what I would have made as a producer at any other network while having the title of vice president. Strung along with the promise of getting it back once the network finally sold and had its shows IP, or had its own shows and IP. I told Colin he needed to pay his producers overtime, that he couldn't do this. He said to me, quote, if they have a problem not being paid overtime, they can sue me. Just kidding, but not really. Well, in 2021, right when I was about to launch the Howie Mandel show, I had a child. But the child was born 3 months premature. As a result, Colin said he wanted to wait for the launch of Howie's show. He said he wanted to redo the pilot, even though we had everything set up for launch. After the child was born, I told Colin I couldn't work the hours I used to, which were all logged in a time tracker. I said I had to cut it down. This was in a big COVID surge. I was spending every day at the hospital with my child. Every day, not knowing if he was going to live or die. He was born at 26 weeks and weighed 2.1 pounds. Colin knew what I was going through. A week or so after my son was born, Colin sent an email to me saying I was the delay in Howie's launch, that there were communication issues lately, and that if things didn't get better, I would be let go in 30 days. I knew it was retaliation for standing up for the team and trying to stop him from being a scumbag. I upped my game, still working 60 hours a week. I would work at Kast during the day, then at night see my son. My wife and I weren't allowed in the hospital at the same time. I would wait in the car while she saw him, then we would trade off. At one point, he was diagnosed with, I may get this wrong, hydrocephalus, I guess it would be. I'm not sure.
Not
exactly.
syphilis. It's hydrocephalus.
Hydrocephalus, and had to be rushed to Children's Hospital, where we feared he would have to undergo brain surgery. At multiple points, he was showing signs of NEC, a gastrointestinal problem that is almost always fatal in infants. I was always open about what was going on with him, with Colin, and my team. Colin told me things were better. He saw improvements with my performance. 3 days before I was supposed to take my paternity leave and finally get my son home after months in the hospital, Colin called me up and let me go. In California, paternity leave is a percentage of your income. If you don't have income, you don't get paternity leave. So he screwed me over. I was defeated, exhausted emotionally, and couldn't put up a fight. I wish I had sued then and there, but I didn't have it in me. So that's a portion of this, and I think says a lot about the character of Colin Thomson, and I have no reason to doubt what Dustin Canals put in his email. I've talked to other people who know him from Kast. No one has said he's a liar or anything else, and of course, he's had public comments on the CoffeeZilla thing. If he said something wrong, I'm sure we would have heard something about it. And this is the way someone who helped Colin build Kast Media from the inside was treated.
And then he was telling them, too, oh, you're going to get stock. You're going to get stock. And then for some people, like Dustin, got canned before they even got stock. Or I believe he said he did get some stock, but it's worthless. And, so what? Nobody gets anything.
And again, too, as we know, I think we may know it a little better than other people from wrestling. Just an example to use. Getting stock is different than getting stock options. Jerry Jarrett thought he was getting stock in Goulas Welch. He was getting stock options, and those options were denied by Nick Goulas. He got nothing.
And that's what everybody is getting. And actually, the only good thing is Colin, the stock he's supposed to be getting is in LiveOne, and their stock ain't worth a shit either. But, at least they're getting first count. So if anybody gets their money back, it'll be Colin and his crooked little friend Rob and their crooked little lawyer sack of nuts and whatever the rest of them.
And again, they said they were going to file for bankruptcy if these deals didn't go through. The deals didn't go through. They haven't filed for bankruptcy. Colin is still billing. There are shows, and Colin has said publicly he's not letting it be known exactly which shows they are. There are shows he's still working on. He's still dealing directly with advertisers. There are advertisers still willing to work with Colin Thomson. And that's what's really fucked up. He stole everyone's money, and he thinks he could just keep doing what he's doing. He's a nut. That's
Do
my
we
opinion
know
of
that
him.
all the advertisers know what he's done? Are they in their own little business bubbles and they don't understand what's going on, even though with all the headlines over the last few weeks?
We certainly know that they will. And I think it's ironic that someone who, it turns out, is a complete bullshit artist is the executive producer and working on a show called The Opportunist. That's pretty interesting. I'd like to go see what their reviews are on Apple, see if anyone's put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah, but he made a mistake when he screwed the guy over that does the investigative podcasts about criminal activity.
Well, there's going to be a lot more stories coming out in the weeks ahead. And there's a lot we know right now that we can't reveal. I'm going to reiterate what I said last time. I think Colin's going to go to federal prison. And I think this is a bigger story and it's been going on longer than people realized. And it's going to probably be years before we get a real read on the accounting because it's going to have to come from multiple places and be put together. But we got to make sure we don't let Colin have the ability to just move on like nothing was wrong, because that's what they tried. And Rob Ellen, PodcastOne, LiveOne, go read his public comments. Still putting over Colin, putting over the guy who took everyone's money. Says a lot about him too and his bullshit company. Bad CEOs help other bad CEOs. But there'll be more to come on this. Of course, if you have a problem with anything we said here today, tough shit. This whole segment's been cleared by Stephen P. New, 888-692-8084. The best lawyer in the world, Stephen P. New.
Newlawoffice.com.
That's right.
And by the way, and you'll be hearing from him on a more direct basis, Colin and Rob, as he's already reached out initially, but Neil, Conan. So speaking of piece of shit CEOs, no, come on, we can't do that.